Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's live poetry reading through Minneapolis Television Network. We got a fine group of poets, Elle Allen, Robin Happel, Deb Kellogg, and Richard Hilber. As usual, I'm going to start off with a couple poems of my own. Shortly before Christmas, my brother died, and this poem came out of that. We learn again that stubbornness doesn't wait, doesn't hold off the ending of the breath, the quitting of the organs, the rolling in of death. So we hope it's all for the best. That old refrain is mentioned with good intentions. Yet in recent gatherings, zest has disappeared. A sister gone a few years ago, and now a brother not to be seen again. Peace found for them, perhaps. No more pain. Couldn't that be true? Out of the mist, the question comes for you. Is there 4 years left? 8? Or shall you linger longer in this world, with no thought on the darkness that waits for us all? And this next poem is called One Day I Was Listening to Minneapolis Public Radio. There was a discussion about narcissism, how it was common in presidents, how there were different types. Callers would call with comments and questions. I listened, curious. I can't remember the rest as I started to worry. Perhaps I was a narcissist. One caller called to say she was glad to be. This perplexed me. I do remember the last time we met and what you said. Nothing about me. Our first poet tonight is Elle Allen. Elle is a writer, piano teacher, and yoga instructor who resides in Fire Lake, Minnesota. She also hosts meditations and retreats that explore art, poetry, nature, and spirituality. She enjoys walking in nature in all seasons, which is more often than not the inspiration for her poetry. Elle holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in human resources, but abandoned the 9-to-5 work life to pursue other interests. Take it away, Elle.
Thank you, Ron. I've brought together a collection of 10 poems about winter. Well, actually, poems about winter, I don't know how many, that I've written over the last 10 years. But I'd like to open with this, for which I have not had to take any poetic license. Hear ye! I'm feeling icky this fine day. I'm feeling icky, I must say. It's not like me to feel this way. That's why it's news to me today. The winter-spring wedding. I woke up to a wedding outside of my window, amazed by a rare springtime snow bride. Lovely in lace and white diamonds so pure, drawing huge crowds to her side. Her long, shiny train lies across the soft ground, wrapping her body so fair. Men, women, and creatures, gods, goddesses too, spellbound in wonderment stare. Housetops are draped with flowing white linens, inviting the festival mood, serving a bountiful feast for the heart. Fulfillment. There's no need for food. Tree line attendants stand in tall splendor as far as the eye can see. Adoringly patient, silent, and gentle, how can they hold in their glee? Flower girl clouds drop white petals around. No spot on the aisle is missed. The ring bearers pillow billows and mounds, holding hope and promising bliss. Are those trumpets I hear heralding the groom? Or echoes of trickling water? Enter the Sun King. The wedding goes quickly. Old Man Winter just gave up his daughter. Winter haikus. Moonlight dance on snow, landscape of deepest stillness, sound of pure wonder. Journey once so far, distance made short by the cold, lake, now a highway. Frosting. Mother Nature was back in her kitchen today. This time she frosted a cake. There's a white icing scattered all over the place. A beautiful mess she did make. Piled high on the ground in that coconut. Is that coconut too? I see on the prairie grass hillside. It looks so delicious, sweet and majestic, fit for an early spring bride. Old snow. Layers of snow are sagging down the hillside, forming wrinkles, much like those at the base of my aging white cheeks. Snow-laced buttons, spring green dresses, the grass, adorned with snow-laced buttons, alas. The fashion gods have gone crazy. How unseasonably gauche. Song of the snow. The bitter bites, moisture weighs, heavy on my soul. Wind divides what brittle breaks underneath the cold. Still, each snowflake sings a song and softly begs me listen. Hope long waits, spring will unfold, resounds in every glisten. Bitter gray days of adolescence. I have known a bitter day in the dark night of my soul, when even the sun rays widened gray and fell hopeless on cold soil. The window in the classroom wall, a cruel reminder of where I was not. The voices in the crowded hall echoed meaningless and without stop. Jeering, jagged, bare tree branches, pointed, bony fingers as I walked beneath their scoffing arches in those bleak days of life's winter. Shadowy players all around conspired to reprehend some sin for which I carried guilt, but could not comprehend. I have known a bitter day in the midnight of soul's smother, until light pierced the blanket gray and filled my mind with color. Winter's warm steeples. The frost-covered evergreens stand thin and tall, nature's steeples, grown green in summer and in winter white, inverted icicles, lending their beauty as they shoot earth's warmth and mine into the blue frigid sky. Diamond mine. Diamonds sparkle on top of the snow. Lights and colors glister and glow. No need to dig, excavate, or mine. No way to hoard this treasure so fine. Gems rain down in frozen perfection. Light gleams back in crystal reflection. Promise to spend this moment with me, enjoying the riches that our eyes now see. Trees atop the snow. Some tree dare spill its ruddy red on linen winter white, bidding robins as they pass atop the snow to light. And though they never touch the ground, the birds are hopping all around, as if the earth were 2 feet up, pecking fallen buds for sup. Florida winter. Faint color, like fall or late summer in most places I know, is the best the South can do to squeak out some seasonal change. A brown tinge to the tops of the tall grasses of the grazing fields. A few tiny dried up golden brown leaves hiding, holding on like desperate bones not wanting to shake or rattle. Please don't, I whisper, relinquish your turn. Be bold, be different, enough for the observer who appreciates the grace of your unique time in this place. Beauty in the waning of intensity. The sweet waft of the orange blossoms tell the truth to all passers-by. Sweet green life is ever alive. There is no dead of winter here. Who knows? The owl has returned late this year. I can't ask why, though I wonder. I can't say I've noticed his absence until he showed up. A reminder of the subtle landscape of my life, how the things I love get pushed to the background, forgotten. The owl's call is chilling, as is the air, plummeting below zero for the first time tonight. It's a different tune, I can tell, because I remember as I listen, and I've done with earnest attention every fall. A single note that drops a pitch lower in a certain rhythm. And unlike before, his call goes unanswered from the distance. How does he remain on frozen branches? Blood running cold, alone. Who is he missing? And why is she gone? Who won't return? From where? What memory is lost beyond reach? Thank you.
Thank you, Elle. That was marvelous to show the beauty of winter. I especially like the owl poem. Next poet is Robin Happel. Robin is a freelance writer and law student from East Tennessee in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. Her poems have been previously been published by America Magazine, Cura Magazine, and other small presses. She is currently an editor for the Yale Environment Review. Take it away, Robin.
Thanks so much, Ron. I'm really happy to be here. So the first poem I want to read is Granny Witch. Granny witches are kind of traditional folk healer in a lot of Appalachian communities where I'm from. And this poem kind of grapples with how a lot of Appalachia has become sort of disconnected with a lot of our traditional folklore and with nature. Long ago, when hymns still tingled across my tongue like snow, I once met a spirit like a granny witch. Gnarled hands tying together tattered fates, moss looms spinning softly beneath a willow tree, past and future mingling in her green gold eyes. Sometimes, in the gray dawn cold, when the creek murmurs dark beneath its coat of ice, melting earlier each winter now, her cider smell mingles with wood smoke, ochre and chitterlings and rich rye rising. On some ghostly hearth, her foxfire still gleams, a flame where no fire should be, deep in the center of a grove of chestnut trees. Silent white slats shuddering, she sits in a cabin past time and foretells the world coming round again. I last found her where the fireflies gleam gold, one summer evening in the aching August heat, and for a wheat penny she told me all that was, and all that would be, the mountains splintering, great cities that would someday sink into the sea. Every summer since, I've searched for her, hoping she would teach me to mend fates, like she did before he frightened her away. But I forgot how to follow the fireflies, and there are no more chestnut trees. So the next poem I want to read is kind of short. It's called Blue Ghost. So if you've ever been to the Smoky Mountains or some other parts of North Carolina and East Tennessee, we have these really beautiful fireflies that come out sometimes in the summer called blue ghosts. And instead of like a typical gold glow, they shine blue, and they leave these really beautiful trails, hence the word ghost, because some people kind of thought they were traditionally spirits. Little lantern in long grass, spirit not quite bound to this side of the sky, bobbing beneath willows before sinking silent into black water, rippling reminder of midnight, speckled with starlight, sinking into morning. So the next poem I want to read is Hummingbird Season, which is, I love hummingbirds, so it's kind of a random title, but they're so adorable. And I thought it would be nice to kind of break up since I have snow on the ground right now, and I'm sure a lot of us listening to this are also kind of in the middle of winter. The hummingbirds come later now each autumn. Time turns on its axis, and summer roads spill like long black tongues across the Shenandoah. So let the radio repeat in scratchy sweet Blue Ridge melodies, and tell me what you see beyond the blue smoke, beyond this day, beyond this place, roads we ran once or 1,000 times before. And blue sky shines through mountains, summer swallows our days. When coal was king and dust was the cost of this road, if only for an instant, worth the price, this corner of sky, before the mountain shrugs, shakes us away, and the day begins again. So my next poem is called Mountain Echo. Catch me here before I go, before my bones rise with falling snow. Catch me here before I fly, like clouds in silent autumn skies, mist that covers both my eyes. Catch me here before I run, before the August hours are done, before the race of nights is won. Catch me here and say my name, once again in soft refrain. Catch me like the April rain. Find me here and see my face, reflection in a moonlit lake, for centuries part of this place. Falling, falling, near and far, find me always where you are. So I'm really inspired by nature, as you can probably tell from some of my poems. And it's been really wonderful listening to all the other poets. If it's all right with Ron, I'd like to hand back off now, but thank you to everyone who's read so far. It's been a really wonderful evening.
Thank you, Robin. Simply lovely poems. It's certainly all right with me, but I think you left the audience wanting more. Our next poet is Deb Kellogg. Deb grew up in Minneapolis, went off to the wilds of Iowa for college, then even farther afield to Germany to study, live, and fall in love. She's the entire German department at Normandale Community College, but pinch hits in the English department when needed. She's a professor, a mother, a grandmother, tree hugger, and a lover of words in both languages. She's been published in both English and German. When talking about her writing, she says, I write about the small, ordinary things in life that bring such pleasure, annoyance, pain, and joy. I'm a quiet hedonist and savor the essential in everything I write. It's in the everyday that we catch glimpses of the passion, the wonder, and the awe of the larger universe and connect with every other person who's ever lived. Here we go, Deb.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be screen sharing so that you can read the poems with me. And I'm doing that both for your sake, because I think the visual helps, but also this is the only way I have to read them at the moment. So here we go with the first one. And this first poem is called Ashes of Roses. And it's about an experience that I had about 10 years ago on an island in the Caribbean. Ashes of Roses. My grandmother called it ashes of roses. This soft, quiet breath of almost pink with shadows of blue and gray. It's a wistful color, sad and sentimental, that pairs well with charcoal and ivory. A color of autumn and the hair of old women. A color of loss and the sighs of memory. Green, on the other hand, is a color vibrant with life and longing, more passionate than red and more fiery than orange. Green is the color of the island where I first met you. I came on wings of silver out of the distant north, hungry for sun, warmth, and the kiss of sweat on winter pale skin. You met me with open arms, enfolding me in brown and turquoise flames. You showed me where the black orchid grows. The sun burned gold in a sky of azure then. Under swaying palms, you wooed me. In tropical waters, we made love and danced naked and alone in slow, sinuous movement through the blood-warm night under a lambent moon. The juice of a mango you licked from my fingers. Where are they now, these sweet, fragrant dreams? They're fluttering ghosts, wraiths of all that once was and all that might have been. Ashes of roses. You have become a dot on the map, and I am an afterthought, another line on your list of to-dos. Sweet Prince, the affairs of state weigh heavy on your shoulders, and you are burdened with responsibility. I understand this, but will you not let me lighten your load? Will you not come again into my arms and let me refresh you with my love? Do you even remember that I'm still here? I too have become a ghost, fading into memory, footprints in the sand, washed away by the sea. You have said I hold your heart, but what have you done with mine? Dearest ruler of this jeweled isle, I will leave this verdant paradise and return to my mountain valley, to cathedral bells and the voices of my people. But I do not know when I will again be able to bear the sight of white sand beaches or the sound of calypso. Sorry for flipping back and forth between these screens. The next poem, let me put this one down. Right. The next poem that I'm going to read came from inspiration that I had when I was looking at doing some research on the Civil War. And I thought this went well with the upheaval that we've been experiencing the last year or so. It's very short. For sale, Baltimore, July 5th, 1858. For sale, one negress, age approximately 20, height 5 feet 6 inches, weight approximately 130 pounds, strong, healthy, biddable, even-tempered, can carry heavy loads, skilled at needlework, cooking, and domestic chores, good with children, no ringworm or scabies, no visible scars, has all her teeth, price, $200. Her 9-month-old baby, male and healthy, is also available at the buyer's choice. Okay. This next one is actually a couple of poems that I wrote. Sorry, I'm flipping back and forth between screens here, that I wrote about a place I've been. And our perceptions of place are often so dependent on the mood that we're in, things that are going on around us, etc. And a place that can be absolutely beautiful to one person can be not quite so much to another. So here's the first one. It's called Walking Penarth. And Penarth happens to be a beach in Wales, right on the outer edge of the Atlantic. Walking Penarth is a lonely trek. The sea is often gray. The path is narrow and winding and slippery with salt spray. But when the sun sings in a sky of blue and seabirds dance on high, you'd swear you'd come to the Western Isles without the need to die. The wind off the sea is bracing and sparkles like champagne. And in your heart, a whisper says you've come home again. Walking Penarth brings a quiet joy and a solitary bliss, with rock and sand beneath bare feet and the ocean's salt sweet kiss. But Eden can be a lonely place with no one else at hand. I'd share paradise with you and explore this lovely land. So come and walk Penarth with me in sunlight or in shade. I think that you'll discover that heaven here was made. Almighty God with wisdom created such places few, but one of those places is Penarth when walking it with you. A very optimistic view of this place, which is beautiful, but there are other views that can also be had. So let me share this. Again, I apologize for flipping back and forth. Penarth, the other side. Walking Penarth is a thankless task and a miserable way to die, gasping out the breath of life beneath an uncaring sky. With angular crab-like movement, I creep across the sand and watch you charging forward to the tortures of the damned. With aspartame words, you lured me to this hellhole of a spot. Heaven on earth, you promised. That's precisely what it's not. I've chipped a nail and barked my shins, and these rocks, they jab my toes. My hair's been musted. I can feel sunburn creeping across my nose. The wind off the sea is putrid and reeks of rotting fish. And oh, the torments you'll endure if I ever get my wish. How could I have listened to your saccharine phrases sweet? I must have been demented or followed you in sleep. Of all the places on this earth where I could choose to stay, frying on this forsaken strand is not where I'd be today. Kites and gulls will pick my bones tween cliffside and the sea, and kittiwakes scrounge through the stones looking for bits of me. Should I survive this death march, I swear by what gods there be, I'll leave Penarth and ne'er return, and on your grave I'll pee. Like I said, two very different views. The last one is actually not a poem that I've written. As has been mentioned, I am the entire German department at Normandale. This is a humorous poem by Heinz Erhardt, and it's called The Virus. And I did a translation and even managed to make it rhyme. Okay, here you can see the virus, and I thought it's quite appropriate to this time that we are living in. Because to life we're still a host, evenings let us raise a toast. Viruses are often shocked when they are with whiskey blocked. Fermented juice of the grape holds our health in noble shape. Beer, when drunk in vast amounts, will singe the virus till it pouts. Vodka, rum, and akavit keep heart and lungs from sure defeat. Calvados and brandy hot help mama and papa both a lot. It's not for intemperance that I vie, but sober, I don't want to die. So there's my contribution. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that seeing the poems on the page helped to reinforce and helped you to follow along. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deb. That was simply wonderful. Yeah, seeing the poems did help. Very nice job. The last poet of the evening is Rick Hilber. Rick, age 72 in retirement from careers as an English teacher and lawyer, has had a varied work life. His 6 grandchildren are his pride and joy. Writing poetry became a very serious avocation when he finished his books of poems in 2015 and then a second in 2016. Both titles are still available for purchase from its publisher or otherwise online. They are down the Highway of Peace and in pieces in the plaza. He sponsors and hosts with other poets the Bird's Nest open mic Zoom gatherings last Sunday of each month. Rick, take it away.
Thank you, Ron. It was a pleasure to hear my fellow poets. Winter, in my view, doesn't deserve as good a treatment as Elle Allen gave it, but it was quite well said. And Robin, the beauty of Eastern Tennessee really shines through in your imagery. And Deb, I'll never forget that place, Penarth in Wales, and try to avoid it or find it. I'm not sure which. So I prepared some poems for this evening, and I hope to get to the final poems, which are kind of like my spirit animal poems, or at least I've been thinking about a spirit animal. But we're going to begin with some poems that are kind of elemental. I'm trying to sound in conversation the tone of these poems, and maybe you won't even notice that they're attempting to be poems. And the first one's called About Preparing to Write a Poem. Every day, I try to focus on the ordinary, celebrating itself in sound, light, texture, odor, and taste. And my screen just went dark on me. A poem is really about enjoying what we do have. And I call first then for the gratitude to be at home in the moment. My subtle notion of which I do not have to be reminded, be appreciative and grateful. Then the moment of creation happens and the poem occurs in words that fall into verses. The second poem, titled In Gathering, wait for it. When we turn from the dark, when we face away from the cold, when we clock around the slights, the annoyances, and the dutiful, we may see the light, feel the warm glow, and the embrace of love. Love is not easy, but gratitude, that's a lark. Then love shows not troubled nor unrequited, but true. In the third poem, What Serves Us. The honesty in dealing even with the stark emotions like abandonment and isolation may be required of each of us. In my moment of lucidity, that requirement of honesty may serve us, for it remarks of the courage that is required of us too. I read the poems of others out of my place and time, hope for myself that I'm not alone and left behind. Let me greet you warmly and with concern that we each allow love itself to prevail. May a love for you yourself and for others hold and comfort you as it does me if we let it. Faith comes after embracing our hopes for universality, that we are one. If grace prevails, and it does, we pray and we humbly believe that we are not alone. The God of my understanding is the commonality of us all. We are together in the hands of the universe, of God. The fourth poem, Hearing My Footsteps in the Fallen Leaves, is again an elemental, simple language poem, which I'm struggling to stick to. So this is Hearing My Footsteps in the Fallen Leaves. I stand still and a leaf falls in silence. The leaves coming down now, I hear my footsteps in the ash and oak trees. I stand still and another leaf falls in silence. All this profuse daylight, diffused and used so well in the green of canopy, now floods this forest with bluest skies in these shortening days of an autumn spending itself into winter brilliance, the glitter of ice and snow. And the fifth poem is written recently. I belong to a group of poets called the Black Coffee Poets. We meet at a Waffle House called Black Coffee. And I knew I had scheduled a meeting when probably nobody was going to be able to make it, but I was stubborn enough to go anyhow, trying to lead by example, I guess. I had titled it Aspirational About Gathering. And I think my fellow poets know what I'm talking about. There's something about fellowship of poets that is so stirring. I know I take much inspiration from fellow poets, and having some time with them personally during COVID has been a bit of a stretch. But this is kind of what came of a meeting where I was the only Black coffee poet present. And my ego aside, I think I made the best of it. While the sadness encroached, a feeling arose inside me. No one else would arrive. I'd sensed that no one else would be coming. I sat alone eating my waffle. It was a good treat. I would eat myself happy. I wrote this poem initially to stay present in case another poet should come. Sadness outside the pain and the rain had come inside and sat alone like I had done. I'd come to Black Coffee to sit alone in a booth. Drinking black coffee was what I had come to do. The background music had a steady beat, with the lyrics heard but not understandable to me. The home, as someone said, is where the heart is. Maybe next time we can share an ode. What has turned out well is coffee ended with a poem. Poems were not to be shared well until I posted one at this particular meeting. And now we're down to my spirit poems. And one of the spirit poems is a canard, and I'll leave it to your imaginations which one it is. I gotta kind of watch the time here too. The first one's called Broken by Hand. The mare's stabled knights kept watch for his constellation. On darkest of nights, he broke fence. They ran off with him. He was not aware of any lasso made just for him. He was not a stallion to be saddled, nor even blanket broken. Legend was he, to be enthralled by kindred, must be fed by hand. By stealth, we boxed, by steep rock walls, we roped him captive. Weeks passed, and the taming failed. The stallion raged. What did we know of the quelling of a daughter's touch? She started slow. For night after night, she quieted his rage. And the seventh poem is called Sweetgrass Hill. And I see this as kind of a work of the imagination. I'm not a cowboy, but was raised in rural North Dakota, so I have a real feel for this poem. Sweetgrass Hill. A no trespassing sign posted on fenced land fails to deter my climb. From the higher of hills, I see the lay of land rolling on to the lake. Below grazes a pony. No disturbance alerts with me so distant. As I descend the slope, mounds in the grass open to the air. I smell vanilla grass before walking in it to pull 2 handfuls. Lower, I hear notes in a meadowlark's intoning chirrups. I spread the strands to step out the fence. A barb rips my sleeve. The animal starts as I approach it, yet does not bolt. I sit upon a boulder to offer sweet grass. Here, pony, your risk. Hearing my own tone in my invocation alerts no one to wrong. I let the pony nibble, then turn back and drop sheaves slowly at 10 paces as the pony follows me to the horse trailer. And then poem number 8, The Wrangler. Wrangler, of course, is a cowboy wrangling a steer to the earth for branding, let's say. But this is really a Florida poem, and it actually happened, which is different than something that happens in my imagination. The Wrangler. Animals that stray are to be rounded up by someone, just not me, even without pay. Neighbors' pigs strayed free beyond fencing. I was not born to wrangle. How does one wrangle anyway? You cut a switch. You tapped a haunch. You whipped ground. The boar, so roused, it snorted, grunted, and rooted its way back under the fence. Just try it sometime. You wrangle, you're a wrangler. The sow rejoined her boar by waddling back through the broken fence. Just try it sometime. You wrangle, you're a wrangler. Okay, probably gave it away. And then the final one, the final poem is Three at the Rail. And I wrote this for my sister Eva. We were both of us students of horseback riding as young adults, and we ended up with horses on my father's place, his retirement place. And he ended up being the primary caretaker of the horses as we went about our educations. But anyhow, it's called Three at the Rail. You're going to meet three horses in this poem. Each stood at the rail together to greet me. The tall one, outreached neck, assuming, not insistent on being first. The short one, neighing in complaint, but pleading too, insisted on being next. Behind me, I know, are shadows, tall and maned in the morning dark, of a sun warming the three, Gypsy, Nokomis, and Rudy. My father's to feed and to sell. They do not know today is the day they will be trucked away. I'm thinking it beyond cruel that it has come to this, letting go of the beloved land and three spirits that stay with me down through the years, perhaps remembered in time by a nuzzle of a loved one who hopes to stay, not go. Thank you, everyone. It was a wonder to be here with you tonight. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Rick. Very well done. I especially like the Wrangler.
If you can picture me trying to get a pig that broke out to the neighbors. So it's, I was
Yeah,
actually
that would have been fun to see.
I was repairing the fence because of hurricane disorder in the backyard of my host's home. And one day the pigs came right through the fence, and I ended up chasing down the block after pigs,
Wow.
never having chased a pig before. So it was a little hilarious to make a poem out of it just the same. Thank you.
I'd like to leave everyone with a poem by William Butler Yeats. Before I read that, thanks to Minneapolis Television Network and Valerie Lockhart for putting this on. Thanks for the fellow poets who read. We're hoping to do another reading in March. I do not have the lineup yet. But this poem is probably my favorite Yeats poem, and I think it's very apropos to the times we're in. The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyra, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loose, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, why the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming, hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Monday troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for everyone who's going to tune in later. Thank you, poets. Have a great night.
Thank you. That was fun.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.